Evening, Sword Family. Welcome to the Teahouse. Tonight, we are drinking Celestial Seasonings Black Cherry Berry. Well, let's give it a try. Wow. That's from a sample pack that I have like 5 different fruit teas. I like my tea fruity. I prefer tea to coffee. So I don't want my tea to taste like coffee. See if we can do something about the lights here. Little much. See if we can turn that down a little bit. There we go. That's better. Oh, yeah, you can have all the caffeine that you want. Years ago, I found one flavor of coffee that I actually liked, but it tasted nothing like coffee. It was a vanilla caramel, I think. It was a Keurig thing. I was going over to my parents' house way too early in the morning because my mother had just had knee surgery, ankle surgery, wrist surgery. And I was going over to keep an eye on her while my dad went to work and was having trouble staying awake. So they had a Keurig, and so I tried I think it was a vanilla caramel, and it was actually really good. I ended up drinking all of that flavor for the week that I was over there. Yeah, that's good. All right. Bunch of different caramel ones. Well, I might have to keep my eye open, but I like tea better than coffee anyway, so it's not really a big deal. So tonight, I decided to talk about unorthodox training methods. Things that most people would not think about, wouldn't really consider. Oh, caramel hot chocolate. Yeah. And one of the things that I enjoy doing is something that I call heavy metal Tai Chi. Excuse me. Oh. So what is heavy metal Tai Chi? Well, it's an exercise in control. You put on music that most people would not associate with Tai Chi. Something loud and fast and heavy. And then you try to continue to do Tai Chi slowly and softly. Your body hears the music and wants to move faster. So you have to maintain control and continue to move slowly. I've never done this in public, but it would be interesting to see people's reactions, because when most people hear Tai Chi or think of Tai Chi, they're going to think of flutes and soft music and very graceful, slow. But that's why it's an unorthodox training method. because it really makes you have to focus on continuing to move slowly. And not everyone can do it. It definitely takes more control than a lot of people have. Oh, if you want to try Tai Chi, let me know. We'll set up something on Discord or something, and I only know the one routine, the Yang Simplified 24, and Tai Chi has been known to help with chronic pain, and it helps keep your mind sharp, and it's a really, really good exercise to do. People don't really give it the credit that it deserves as a fighting art, but that's just the way people are. You know, most people, when they see Tai Chi, they think of exercise. They think of, they don't think of it as a fighting art, and it really is. I have used Tai Chi and Bagua in situations that probably would have turned out entirely different if I would have been using something harder. That's the other reason that I love heavy metal Tai Chi. It's the epitome of hard and soft. If you're looking at the philosophical aspects of Tai Chi, it's all about duality. It's about hard and soft, or masculine and feminine, or, things like that. And I am of the opinion that anyone can do Tai Chi. It's just up to the Shifu to adapt it enough that it can work for anyone. There was a few years ago, excuse me. It's probably been several years ago now that I think about it. I was assisting my friend and Shifu Jack with a Tai Chi class at a yoga studio a few miles away. And the class was entirely made up of older women, 50s, 60s. And Jack had been teaching the class for, 2 weeks before he asked me to assist him. And the very first day, he had me take on the new students that had just shown up that night. There were probably 3 or 4 women there that had just shown up that night, and I was pegged to be the one to take over the new students. And he didn't warn me, which kind of annoys me a little bit. But one of the women had a prosthetic leg. And I had no idea. So They were all older. I know she had a cane. I saw that. So I tried to make sure that the stances were not too difficult for her to handle. And she did just fine. So there may be certain limitations that will make it difficult to do Tai Chi. But I don't think it's impossible for anyone. In pretty sure it was my class when I was taking Kung Fu from Jack, again, at our local college. There was a girl there who had broken her ankle or broken her leg or something. And so for the first half of the class, and it was probably 4 months. So for probably 8 weeks, she was doing everything sitting down. And I think this was before I was officially an assistant. So for 8 weeks, she was doing just upper body movements. She wasn't doing anything with her legs. And at the end of that 8 weeks, she came to me because she was afraid that when it came time to do the form at the end of the semester, that she wouldn't know what to do with her lower body because she had not moved it for the entire first 2 months of class. So while I was simultaneously learning the form on my own, I was teaching her just the leg movements, just the lower body movements. And then maybe a week before it was time to do the full form, I had her kind of off in a corner where people were paying attention. I had her do the entire form just so I could see where she was at. And she did surprisingly well. Even though for the first half of the class, she was just doing upper body. And then for the second half, she was doing just lower body. She was able to combine the two so that when it came time to get her certificate at the end of the semester, she passed with flying colors. There was no problem whatsoever. So a lot of people have, hang-ups about Tai Chi. They look at someone who's been doing it for their entire lives and they're like, well, I can't do that. You don't have to. You never have to. That's not the point. Foxy did the same thing. When she first took Tai Chi, on the syllabus was a link to a YouTube video. I'm pretty sure the video is still out there. If I can find it, I'll put it in the description later. It's an older video. It's the same Yang Simplified 24. But this woman has been doing this style for I don't even know how long, but it's a long time. And she's doing these really, really low, almost touching the ground kind of stances. And Foxy's like, well, I can't get that low. And I said, then don't. just that simple. Don't. See, over here in the chat, Foxy says that Jack was more strict on perfect moves. It wasn't perfect moves, it was perfect stances. The stances had to be 100% perfect. I don't do that because when you're performing the form, you're not stopping between each move. You're flowing from move to move to move. It's the transitions that are actually important. The moves themselves, as long as they're close, to me, it doesn't matter. Yeah, sometimes the hardest part is mental. Exactly. People will see these Olympic level or master level. Oh. Sorry about that, guys. They will see master level people doing these forms and go, well, I can't do that. You don't have to do that. That's not the point. As long as you're trying, as long as you're getting from stance to stance, nothing else really, you don't have to be perfect. And that was actually one of the biggest issues I had with the way that Jack taught. Is whether it was Tai Chi or Kung Fu, he always thought you had to be perfect on the individual stances, the individual moves. But if you're actually using this as a martial art, if you're actually using this to fight or defend yourself, those stances are not going to mean dick. You just need to be able to flow from one stance to another. I know for a fact that my horse stance sucks right now. It is awful. After my hip surgery, I have basically had to start from square one with my legs, with my stances. Yeah, for first time, yeah, Foxy's horse stance is better than mine. Because I have had to start completely over. And it still frustrates me. But once upon a time, I could get into a pretty low horse stance and stand there for 7 or 8 minutes. I can't do that now. Yeah, getting started is difficult. It really is, because whether you have that mental block of, I'll never be as good as this person or that person, or if it's just getting to a point where you actually can do it. But if you can get past that mental block, I don't really know a whole lot about you or your partner's, mental or physical issues any more than what you've told me. But if you want to try this, if you want to try Tai Chi, we can set something up. It wouldn't be that difficult. I have taught people from 18 to 75. And won't be as good as some other people. It's mental energy. Yeah, and that's something that... Oh, dog tax. Hi, baby. You want to come say hi? No, she just wants pets. Sweetie, don't. You're going to unplug my microphone. Come over here. No, over here. No? Okay. You're getting hellos from people. Now she's going to wander off. Yeah, hesitation is mostly just that it's online. Yeah, I completely understand that. I was lucky enough to find someone in my tiny little mountain town where I could actually, learn these things in person. And starting from the age of 16, I think, I've had an in-person teacher for Mantis and Tai Chi, but I'm currently, while we're talking about it, four different DVDs. This one is the Wudon Snowflake Sword. This one is Wudon Bagua Palm. This one is also Wudon Bagua Palm and Bagua Flying Dragon Sword. I'm I'm learning all of this just from these videos. I don't have an in-person teacher. So like I said in one of my other streams, it's not impossible to learn from a video. Books are harder because they don't have transitions. But if you can find basically a training buddy who can watch you and the video, because you can't do both. You can watch the video, but you can't watch yourself. So you need someone else that can kind of split attention between both. And if they see something that's not quite right, they can say, wait, hold on, stop, go back. And unfortunately, since my hip, I haven't really had a whole lot of opportunity to go back through those videos. I basically lost, at least with I think the Wudon Snowflake Sword was the first one I got. And I had been practicing that for probably 8 to 10 months before my accident. And I lost all of that progress. And it's been hard. It's been difficult for me to pick it back up because it's like, but I was this far, and now I got to go all the way back to the beginning. That's something that, a lot of people deal with is starting over. That's something else that I have experienced with my students. If they were learning a different style or had a different teacher or a different kind of teacher, and then they have to start over because you can't fill a cup that's already full. So if you're trying a different style or if you're learning a different style, even if you already have a basis in something, you will be starting at square one. It's just a fact. When I went from my first Shifu, learning Mantis, he had a complete than Jack did. So even though Mantis Fist going to also learning Mantis, I had to start over because I had a different Shifu who had a different way of teaching. And I teach differently than Jack does. Just like Foxy said, I'm not as strict on perfect stances, because I'm not. If you're going from, just picking something off the top of my head, parting the wild horse's mane. That's one of the movements in the Yang Simplified 24. If you're going from that move to the next one, two different stances, I don't care if this stance is not perfect. I don't care if this stance is not perfect. I don't care if this one is better than this one. It's the transition between the two. That's the way I look at it, because it doesn't matter if your bow and arrow stance isn't perfect. It doesn't matter if your horse stance isn't as low or even lower than mine. I don't care. Yeah. Transition bits were harder for Foxy. And that's because of the way Jack taught you. For him, it was all about, okay, here's this stance. Now, stand there in that stance while I walk around the class, and I will critique each person's stance. Now we move to the next stance. And he'd do it like that every class period. You go from stance to stance to stance. Every time you would stop in the stance, and he would walk around, or he would have me or one of the other assistants walk around and look at people standing static. This is not a static martial art. It never will be. It's the in-between. Even when you're performing at a competition, if you screw up, here comes the dog again. If you screw up your stances, they're going to take points away. But only if you make it obvious. If your stances are not 100% perfect, but your transitions are good, they're probably not going to notice. But Jack was so overwhelmingly focused on individual movements, standing static. Now, I think I mentioned in one of my earlier streams that one of the things that I do when I teach people is I have a mini form that I have developed over the years that goes through the basic wushu stances. Horse stance, bow and arrow stance, empty stance, leaping tiger stance, golden rooster. But one of the things that I have realized, and a lot of it is from watching Jack's classes, is that people get monumentally bored just going through static stances. Oh, excuse me. So I developed a form that create the transition from one stance to the next. And one of these days, I'm going to film it and put it up on this channel. It's just a matter of being brave enough to do it. Because I know, right now, my stances are pretty awful. Because I'm still dealing with some lingering crap from, hi baby, from my hip surgery, and I know that my stances aren't as good as they were before the injury. And I'm almost 100% sure that if I put that forum up online, I will get comments from people of, oh, you're an insult to martial arts and you're not doing it right and blah, 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 blah. You didn't go low enough with your horse stance. Your 4-6 stance is garbage. And I let that kind of crap bother me way more than I should. But that's kind of the nature of, yeah, if you want to use your fancy camera, it'll just be a pain in the ass getting it uploaded. It'll probably take an entire day. And if possible, I'd kind of like to film it outside because, as you can see, I don't really have a whole lot of room in my living room right now. This is kind of what Christmas does to my living room. Box. Here's another box over here. There are boxes back there. I'd kind of like to film it outside, which would require a day that's not too cold, not too windy. And then maybe I'd come in here with my microphone and record a little voiceover, talking about each movement. But it's something that I have noticed that a lot of students really enjoy, is learning that form instead of just learning, okay, this is your horse stance. Now stand like that, and I'll critique you. Now here's bow and arrow. Now stand like that, and I can critique you. If you can flow between them, it also seems to help people remember them better. So I really should film that one of these days. I need to find a decent spot or something. And I also, depending on what my student is capable of, I will alter or completely remove some of the really, really low stances. Some of them I can't get that low anymore. But the last time that I did, the last time that I practiced my mini form, I decided, hey, let's try. Okay. I'm going to look this up so I don't say something stupid. I know this is completely dead here, but I'm looking for something here. Yes. Crouching stance. In this position, martial arts squats on one leg until the thigh is parallel to the ground and extends the other leg out to the side. Both feet are parallel and pointing forward relative to the torso. Yeah, actually did that stance the last time I was going through the entire mini form. And I actually got lower than I expected to be able to. So that was nice. But seriously, if you actually want to try some Tai Chi, once I get done here, I will find that video or a similar one. I will put it in the description of this video, and I'll more than likely put it in Discord. And you can watch that video. If I had the ability to right now, I would just, find it and play it right now and, discuss it alongside. But I don't, with this setup I have here, I can't do that, which is unfortunate. But I will find it and I will share it. And if you have any questions about any of the movements, ask me and I will figure out a workaround for any kind of physical limitation. Now, this video, if I can find it, or if I can find something similar, is going to be from a high caliber, master. So don't watch this video and think, oh, that just isn't going to work. Don't let yourself get discouraged if you can't get as low as they can or as rigid or anything like that. We will work around. I have a friend over on Nick Historical Pensacola. Check it out. Friday nights. What is it? 6 o'clock Mountain. I'm not doing the calculation in my head right now. I don't feel like it. But he does stream every Friday. Focuses more on Western martial arts. And there's a woman there named Cindy who does Tai Chi and does Fan. And she has asked several times over on his stream or on Facebook for a workaround for her own limitations. And I have helped her multiple times to be able to do a move that she flat out said, I can't do this. And I've figured out ways and said, yeah, you can. You just have to, we just have to alter it a little bit. One of the moves that she had trouble with, don't know if I have anything here that I can, I might be able to use this. This is not a fan, but imagine closed fan and you have to back up so I got some room here. Toss it and catch it. While it remains closed, and catch it by the handle end instead of the far end. And she has some wrist issues. She has some hand issues. And she flat out said, I can't do that. And I said, yes, you can. I use my wrist, a little flick. If you can't use your wrist, use your finger. And I dropped it. Or your elbow, or your shoulder. There are always workarounds to any kind, well, I shouldn't say any, because that's nothing I have ever found has been a serious physical limitation to being able to do something. I have had students with, like I said, a broken leg, a prosthetic leg. If you really put your mind to something, we can make it work. What a lot of people don't realize, especially with the Yang 24, the 24 is how many moves are in the entire set. But sometimes one move is not one move. Sometimes one move is actually 3 or 2 or 8. There are actually more movements in the simplified 24 than just 24. Which is why people see things like the Yang 108 and they go, oh my God. In the Yang 108, there's 108 moves. If I can find a video of that, the entire form takes a while. I'm not even going to, it takes quite a while. But it's not as terrifying as people like to think it is. You can, and most schools do, you can break down every form into sections. Any video you find online is, if it's the entire video, is going to break it up into however many sections you think you need. We did the same thing in Jack's classes. You start with the first one move, which is actually 3 moves. Excuse me. And you break it up into sections, it's really not that hard. The problem that a lot of people have, and this is one of the problems that Foxy had, is overthinking. Trying to remember what move comes next. If you don't think about it, like with that student I was talking about earlier, she had mastered, well, okay, not mastered. Master isn't the proper word, but she knew all of the upper body movements for the form. So that when we started practicing the lower body, her brain still remembered, oh, well, this comes next, and then this, and then this. Once you are mentally aware of the form, you don't have to worry about what comes next. The first time that I performed in public was the Shaolin Dragon Springs Jian form. And I was nervous. I had never done anything like that in public before. And this was in an auditorium full of people. And right up until the moment that those curtains opened, my brain was running through the form over and over and over and over again, making sure, oh my God, we have to do this, 100%. We have to be perfect with this. That video is on my channel. I think it was the very first thing I ever uploaded to this channel. Go check it out if you want to. But once those curtains opened, it's like something clicked. And I honestly do not remember anything in between watching the curtains open and me walking off stage. My body just completely took over, muscle memory. I did the entire form without even really being cognizant that I was doing it. And it's kind of hard to see because someone else was recording it and he kept zooming in on my face for some reason. But in the wide shots, you can see I'm actually keeping up pretty well with Jack. Sometimes I was a little bit ahead of him, but for the most part, we were pretty even. Then I did a dowel form in the park a little bit later. That one was not great. I openly admit that. I was nervous. The dowel is not my preferred weapon. And I didn't really get to practice because the day before the performance, we were helping someone move. So I literally had to just help someone move from 120 miles away to here, help them get set up, got to bed at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and then had to get up and go and perform. And I really did not get a whole lot of time to practice. But that video is also up on this channel. It's not great. I openly admit that. My stances are pretty rough. The transitions are kind of ugly. But it's still up on my channel. I've never taken it down. People want to talk shit, they're gonna talk shit. That first video that I put up, I was still letting people bother me. And I got one comment on that video. And it was literally someone saying, "This is not how my school teaches it. You're an insult to Chinese martial arts and you should be ashamed of yourself." And I let that bug me. And I turned off comments on that video. And I shouldn't have done that. I should have left it up there. And I should have commented back and said, then show me. If you can do this form so much better, let's see you do it. Let's see how well you do. Because something else that's relatively prominent in, still did better than you would have. I doubt that. But you're just as hard on yourself as I am on myself. So anyway, something that's really, really prominent in the martial arts community at large. This is European martial arts. This is Chinese martial arts. This is just martial arts in general. Is this belief that there's only one way to do something? He even said it in his comment, "This is not the way I do it." Well, good for you. This is not the way that my school does things. Okay. And does it really matter? A lot of people think it does, and it really is kind of disappointing because this should be a community. It should be a place of lifting other people up. That is one of the things that I really enjoy about the Historical Fencing Guild is Nick does not allow people to beat themselves up over things. If you say anything bad about yourself, he's going to jump on it. He's done it to me. He's done it to Foxy. He's done it to loads of other people. You do not need to hold yourself up to a standard that you cannot reach. You can do what you can do. And if you can't do something, then oh well. But these people running around thinking that their school's way is the only way, or their teacher's way is, or their own way is the only way, really need to shut up. Because all they're doing is breaking other people down to make themselves feel better. And that really is not what we should be about. It's stupid. It's this macho bullshit of I'm better than you because whatever. But I never took the video down. Other than these streams, there's a handful of videos on my channel. There's the Dragon Spring Sword performance. There's the Tao performance in the park. There's me picking up a 3-section staff for the first time ever and being able to do a basic staff turn with it. That video is not great. It's not the greatest quality, and I kind of wish I could do it again with a better quality camera because it's really, really kind of grainy and weird. And I have a couple of videos showing off my old sword collection that I probably should update because a lot of those swords I don't have anymore, and I picked up other ones, and a lot of them were kind of crappy wall hanger swords, but I have, 2 full videos on my channel of forms that I performed in public. And they're not great, but they're still up there. People are going to talk shit. They're going to talk shit. And I don't care anymore. I'm over it. I have my own internal critique, and I've pretty much gotten to the point where I want to tell people, if you can say something to me that is worse than the things that I say to myself on a daily basis, maybe I'll take your opinion into account. But until then, I don't really care what you think. There are certain people whose opinions matter to me. Foxy's opinion matters to me. Nick's opinion matters to me. There are some other, martial artist YouTubers who, if I ever had the opportunity to talk to them, their opinions would matter to me because I have seen what they are capable of. But some random asshole in my comments who wants to talk up himself by belittling other people, I don't care what you think. You don't know me. I don't know you. If you want to come on here and tell me I'm wrong, tell me I'm an idiot, that I'm disgusting, that I'm a insult to martial arts, okay, do better. Let's see what you can do. I will gladly learn from what you're capable of if you're willing to show me. Because a lot like Nick, I don't like calling myself a master of anything. I'm not. I'm a student. And I'll be a student of martial arts for my entire life. I am continually learning from people better than me. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being a student. You don't have to be a master. But you can be a teacher. If you get to a point where you're good enough at something that someone else comes to you and wants your advice, give it to them. That was one thing that every single student that I taught as an assistant for Jack told me, was that they felt comfortable coming to me to ask me questions more than the person actually running the class. They could come to me and ask me questions, and I would answer them to the best of my abilities. That was the reason that I started doing these streams. Because I noticed there were times during Nick's streams that people were asking him questions that I could answer better than he could. I really thought that maybe some of those people would come over here and ask those questions of me. It's just not happening, but starting something always kind of sucks. And that's just the truth. This is my 5th stream. Yeah, it's my 5th stream. And the people in the chat now are about the only people that show up. And a couple of weeks ago, I actually considered just giving up on doing this. It's like people are not showing up. People are not asking questions. It just ends up me sitting here and rambling for an hour. And I'm still sitting here and rambling for an hour. Eventually, hopefully, there'll be some people show up that have questions that they think could be answered or want answered. And if not, I have people here in the chat that support me. I have people that when I put the link up on Facebook will share it to others. I will continue to be here every 2 weeks talking about my journey. And hopefully, at some point, other people will show up with their own questions. And even if they don't, I'm still going to be here every 2 weeks, probably with the same 3 or 4 people in my chat. But there are some things that need to be said. There are some things that need to be discussed. And my lovely, supportive, pain in the ass, Foxy, once told me that if you don't see something, make it yourself. And I really did not see a lot of places online for people to discuss Asian and Chinese martial arts, philosophy, history. There's maybe one other channel that talks about these kind of things. And I would love to talk to him or, get some advice from him. But regardless, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be talking about the things that I am passionate about, that I think are important. And even if I never get an audience beyond the people in my chat right now, I'm not going to stop. But we are a little over an hour. I'm almost out of tea. I don't really see anything in the chat that needs to be addressed, so I think we're going to call it for tonight. I'll be back on the 25th. And I hope everyone has a good weekend, good month, good Thanksgiving if you celebrate it. And 再见。